We are back, and it's officially Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway fight week, which means it's time for me to break down every single fight on UFC 308 Abu Dhabi. It's a blockbuster card, not a single women's fight, which is incredible. I love that. We had to sit through 3 back-to-back last week, which was gouged my eyes out. What a fucking event that was. Let me give a quick recap of that, because I kind of was coping the last 2 days. I had a terrible event. Michel Pereira, I was confident in him. He got his ass kicked. He had 2 seconds of gas. Rebellis de Spain, fucking bum, cut him. I never want to hear his name ever again. I picked, who else was it? Kyler Phillips, had him in a parlay. Cannot fucking believe he did not get it done. Anyways, let's get right back into this card, guys. First fight of the night, we've got Ismail Nairdiev versus Bruno Silva. Nairdiev got a guillotine choke December of last year. Bruno Silva coming off of that decision loss to TKO, I think it actually was, lost to Chris Weidman. Off of the 1-2 eye poke. Brutal loss that was. You know, it really shouldn't have been a loss. It should have been a no contest or whatever, because in the replay they even showed before the decision got called, it was literally a 1-2 both in the eye, like a 1-2 fucking eye poke, where he had both of his fingers extended, 1-2, both eyes he caught. And that was the finishing moment for Chris Weidman. So I just want to say Bruno Silva has had it tough, but in his last 5 fights, he's lost 4 of them. He's at the tail end of his career. Nairdiev is coming in, like, I don't want to say prime or anything, but he's the younger guy. He's going to be faster on the feet. He's got a nice crisp jab. He's got good leg kicks. I'm going to pick Nairdiev. And it's a close lineup anyways. I could see Nairdiev finishing as an underdog, because a lot of people are going to be picking Bruno Silva. But I can't be confident in Bruno Silva anymore at this part of his career, especially because he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. I think Nairdiev is going to be the obvious pick here. I'm not like too confident in it or anything, so don't go crazy on this one. But Nairdiev by decision will be the official pick. Moving up the card, we've got Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo. I'm pretty sure this is Farid. You know, I like Victor Hugo. He's not terrible. He actually showed in his UFC debut, he was pretty good, but he's not beating like a good name. It was just a random guy like Falsao, I think his name was, or something. Farid Basharat coming off of a good win against Taylor Lapilus. That ages nicely. Taylor Lapilus is a good fighter. He's a good cardio kickboxer, I like to say. The hips and highs, ha, 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 ha. You know, he's going to be keeping up in the numbers. And Farid Basharat dealt with Taylor Lapilus quite well. And I think Farid Basharat has more upside than Javid Basharat. A lot of people are picking against Farid just because Javid got checked this year by Ayman Zahabi. Zahabi's not a bad loss to Javid. You know, that's not a terrible loss. Zahabi's not bad. But Farid Basharat, I think he's actually going to be better than Javid in the long run. And Victor Hugo, I'm not going to say he has no chance here. He totally could win this one. It's always these ones that I say they have no like, if I said he had no chance, Victor Hugo would dominantly go out there in 30-27 Farid, but I'm not going to say that. I think this could be a close fight. Victor Hugo does have a solid ground game, but I think Farid's just going to be too crisp on the feet and keep him against the fence or something, and he's going to take home a decision win. Farid Basharat, I'm pretty confident he's taking this win home. So I'm going to go with Farid by decision, will be the official pick. Next fight up the card, we've got Aslan against Raffael Cerquiera. I'm probably butchering that last name. It's a tough last name to pronounce, but I don't really care. I think Ibo's going to win this one. This is like a perfect setup for him to get a nice win on paper, because this guy's 11-0 that he's going up against, but he's in like a random promotion I've never heard of, demo fights. Like, what is that? I think Aslan, I mean, he did have a closer fight with Anton Turkalj that he was able to finish in the end, but I do remember that being like a closer fight, but he did get the finish in the end. So how much can you really hold that against him? I think Aslan will be crisp on the feet. He's the younger guy. He's going to have the speed advantage, all that. Raffael hasn't been in the UFC yet. He's going to have the octagon jitters. And this is like the Sean Shafir or whatever the fuck his name. Sean Sharaf against Tafa. He was coming in 4-0. It's a good name on paper that they can get a finish over, and it makes them look a little better because he beat an undefeated guy. I think Aslan's taking this home. I think he's going to get a knockout win in the second round, will be the official pick. Moving up the card, I think this fight's actually off. Rinat Fakhretdinhov versus Nursultan Ruziboev. I'm going to go check that real quick, but I'm pretty sure Ruziboev pulled out a few days ago. So Rinat Fakhretdinov's actually fighting Carlos Leal, LFA, PFL alumni. This guy's fought Sadibou in the past, lost twice to him by unanimous in a split decision. He's fought Ray Cooper in the past. This could be a closer fight, to be honest. Rinat Fakhretdinov is a little bit fraudulent. You know, we had a really close fight with Nicholas Dalby. He's not like some world beater. I get he did have a dominant win over Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee, but it's Kevin Lee, you know? Kevin Lee. He had a really close fight with Nicholas Dalby, and if am I mistaken, did that go to a draw? Rinat went to a split decision with Nicholas Dalby and won. The draw I'm thinking of was Elizo Zaleski, which I'm pretty sure Zaleski should have won that fight, to be honest, but Rinat Fakhretdinov has that pull, you know, for the judges. He's got the OV at the end of his name. They're obviously going to be wanting him to win because they're in Abu Dhabi, you know. That's something you got to consider here. Carlos Leal, he's also not fought in the UFC. I feel like Rinat could put on the pressure on him. I don't see a finish. Carlos Leal hasn't been finished since like his first professional fight, I'm pretty sure. It was a submission, but he's lost decisions to a couple people since then. Sadibou twice. And I think Rinat Fakhretdinov is going to take him to a decision because Renat's not like some crazy finisher or anything. We've learned that. I think Rinat Fakhretdinov takes home a unanimous decision win. That'll be the official pick. Next fight up the card, this Kennedy Nzechechwu fight is actually against Chris Barnett. And this is like a slightly interesting one. A lot of people are going to be taking Chris Barnett because he's a big, tubby, fat guy that can throw a spinning wheel kick. Whoa. He hasn't fought in a long time. He's pulled out of a lot of bouts due to personal circumstances that I'm not going to get into. But Kennedy Nzechechwu, he's moving up to heavyweight here. He's going to have the lighter man's skill. He has an 8-inch reach advantage. This is a tough one, though, because obviously he's going to be severely undersized compared to Chris Barnett, but he has the height advantage and the reach advantage still, because Chris Barnett, little T-Rex arms. I think Kennedy Nzechechwu is going to take home probably a finish, actually. I was about to say decision. Kennedy's probably going to finish this one. I don't see Chris Barnett lasting 3 rounds. I don't. I think Kennedy either finds a knockout blow or a submission sometime in this fight. I think he's going to be better than Chris Barnett wherever this fight goes, pretty much. The weight could be a difference maker here. Maybe Chris gets on top somehow in one of these scrambles, and Kennedy has a tough time getting him off of him because there's going to be a massive weight difference between these guys. Kennedy's moving up from light heavyweight. Barnett's literally probably cutting to make the limit of heavyweight. There's going to be a massive size difference between these two. But I see Kennedy and Nzechechwu getting a round 2 TKO win here. I don't see it going to a decision, guys. Prove me wrong, Chris. I'm not talking shit to Chris. I do actually like him as a fighter, but I just think he's going to be severely underclassed in this one, especially with the time off he's had. Kennedy needs a win, too. He's on 2 losses in a row, and he's got the lighter man skill. He's got the reach advantage, the height advantage. I don't see Chris winning this one. So we'll see what happens there, but Kennedy and Nzechechwu by the second round TKO will be the pick. Next fight up the card, we've got Saeed Nurmagomedov, and I think, pretty sure Santos pulled out as well. Yep, Daniel Santos pulled out. I heard rumblings that maybe Charles Johnson fucking steps in on a week's notice. So I'll do a prediction for that fight if it ends up materializing, but as of right now, Saeed is not on the card unless that Charles Johnson fight materializes. So I'll do a quick pick for that one. If Charles Johnson steps in against Saeed, Saeed wins a decision, guys. Yeah, I think it's pretty easy pick. Charles Johnson, no training camp at all. Saeed, he's a pretty good grappler, pretty good on the feet as well. He did lose to Mariscal, I'm pretty sure, Chepe Mariscal, but it was a robbery decision that I thought Saeed should have won. And Charles Johnson, if he does step in, he could win on the feet, but Saeed's great at mixing it up. And I see Saeed taking home a decision if that fight actually happens, but it probably doesn't. Saeed's probably just off the card. So if it does happen, Saeed by decision. If not, then next fight up the card, Abus Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. Bruno beat Dustin Stolfis in his last fight by a round 1 knockout. That's the only person Abus has also KO'd in the UFC, but he did win a unanimous decision in his last fight. He lost to Sean Strickland by a round 2 knockout. He lost to Calbarallo by decision. Bruno Ferreira is going to put this on Abus early. Abus could knock him out early because that's how Bruno's only loss happened was against Nursultan Ruziboev, where he had a reach disadvantage by 4 inches. Abus had a 6-inch reach advantage here, but I see Bruno finishing Abus. He will make him fade. Abus has a questionable gas tank anyway, so I see Bruno Ferreira knocking him out in the second round. That will be the official pick. Bruno has that grit that I love to talk about all the time. He loves biting down on that mouthpiece, showing that heart. Even if he takes a couple strikes early on in this, he's going to be keeping the pressure on Abus, walking him down, trying to work that inside clinch game, trying to get inside. And I think Bruno Ferreira will land on Abus, and I think Abus will fade to a round 2 TKO win or a KO win for Bruno Ferreira. That will be the official pick. I really like Bruno. I don't think I've ever picked against him, and I'm not going to pick against him against fucking Abus Magomedov, the fraudulent fuck. Not a chance. Bruno Ferreira wins this one, guys. Next fight up the card, we got Matteuz Rebecki versus Myktykbek oral by. Rebecki got kind of fraud-checked in his last fight against to Diego Ferreira. Myktykbek oral by won a decision against Elvis Brenner in his last fight, but it was a close fight. Myktykbek was able to win the third round, though, take home that decision victory. He has the reach advantage here over Rebecki, an 8-inch reach advantage here. I believe Myktykbek will have the grappling advantage, and with the reach as well, it's going to be hard to touch him, break through 8 inches of reach. That's going to be hard to do. Rebecki's got little T-Rex arms, and after his last performance, I see him fading in this fight. I think oral by, his pressure is going to be too much for him. I don't see a finish. Like maybe it happens, but I think Rebecki's going to be a bit more defensively sound this fight. And to be fair, that finish was kind of because his eyes got all swelled up and shut on him. Maybe that happens again. Maybe, I don't know. I can't predict that though. I'm going to say Myktykbek oral by takes home a decision win where he wins the second and the third round. Rebecki has a good first round or something, but oral by will keep the pressure on him. And he'll take home a decision win. That'll be the official pick. Next fight up the card, we got Jeff Neal versus RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos. Jeff Neal has a 5-inch reach advantage in RDA. RDA is 40 years old, but I don't think he's over the hill yet. He lost his last 2 fights, but like, they're not against terrible competition. The Luque one doesn't look incredible, but it's like, he had one bad performance. I'm not going to say Vicente Luque is a bad fighter just because of the one bad performance against Joaquin Buckley. But, Jeff Neal, why are people picking him to knock out RDA? Like, I get it. He's knocked out a couple people in the past, but Jeff Neal, in his last couple fights, has shown no instinct to knock anyone out. He's going to stay at range. He's going to pitter-pat. I don't see him knocking out RDA. The RDA still has a good chin on him at the age of 40 years old. I see Jeff Neal taking home a decision win. I don't see it as a hard pick. I don't see him knocking out RDA, guys. Tell me if you think I'm like fucking insane here. It's like 50-50 split. Like a 50-50 split of people picking Jeff Neal to knock out RDA or people picking Jeff Neal to win a decision here. So like a lot of people do think a knockout could happen. I don't see it. I've been there, done that. You know, I've picked Jeff Neal to knock out people in the past. He doesn't have the instinct, guys. I see him taking home a decision win. I'm going to ride with that. Jeff Neal by decision will be the official pick. On to the featured prelim bout. Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. This has Kyler Phillips versus Rob Font written all over it, guys. I picked Edson Barboza last fight to beat Lerone Murphy. The same way I picked Pedro Munoz to beat Kyler Phillips in both of their last fights. And then I go with the prospect and he gets fucking fraud checked. I'm going to go with Lerone Murphy here, guys. He had a dominant win over Edson Barboza. That has to mean something. He only got hit with one head kick that whole fight that kind of rocked him a bit. It was an up kick, though. Lerone Murphy's going to take home a decision win here, guys. Dan Ige is tough as fuck. Unknockoutable. Remember that. He's never been finished. And Lerone Murphy, he's got hands on him, but I don't see the crazy knockout power. You know, I think Lerone's going to take home a decision victory here, 30-27. I'm calling a 30-27, the same way I called a 30-27 on Kyler Phillips. So Lerone Murphy, watch out, buddy. I placed a curse on you. Watch out now. I picked you to win. You officially lost dominantly. So we'll see how that one goes. I'm going Lerone Murphy by decision. Lerone has a hex on him now. Good luck, Lerone. You got the Genie curse. So we'll see how that goes. On to the main card. Starting off the main card, we've got Sharaputin Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. This is a good striking battle here. Armen's not going to try to grapple with him. He is a former kickboxer. Magomedov coming off of a win over Mackenzie Dern's boyfriend. What the fuck was that guy's name? Antonio Tricoli he knocked out, but that's actually not his last bout. It was Mikhail Olegchik. Completely forgot about that fight. But he won a decision over Mikhail Olegchik. He knocked out... Jesus, I already forgot his name. Antonio Tricoli. Armen Petrosyan's coming off a submission loss to Rodolfo Vieira. His most recent loss before that was Tal Barallo by decision, which kind of ages nicely that he didn't get finished by Barallo. So I'm pretty confident to say Shera's not going to finish him. He barely finished Antonio Tricoli. He has a 1-inch reach advantage over Armen. I don't think that's nothing substantial. I don't think he's going to land a nice kicker. Like, maybe he lands a fucking random, like, spinning back question mark kick or whatever. He threw a spinning back question mark kick on Nina Drama in that clip, guys. If you go and watch it, he threw the spinning back kick, but then he did, like, a flutter of his leg at the end, and it went the opposite way of the momentum. Like, it was a question mark. Like, it looked really weird. I have no idea what he was doing. Maybe it was just because Nina was too close, so he kind of extended his leg a bit afterwards than he normally would have, but... looked kind of weird, looked like a spinning back question mark kick, I'm telling you. That kick doesn't even exist. Maybe he lands some crazy shit like that on Armen. I don't see it happening. I see Shera winning a decision. Close fight, though, maybe. Shera's nothing to ride home about. I don't think after what we've seen in the octagon, I don't think he's anything crazy. A person that's crazy would have finished Mikhail Olegchik, but, you know... maybe not, because Michel Pereira finished Mikhail Olegchik and they just got bullied for 5 rounds. So maybe that's a bad time. Maybe it's bad to finish Mikhail. Maybe it's good that you take him to a gritty 30-27 decision or something. Magomedov by decision will be the official pick. You know, quit waffling. Magomedov by decision. Next fight up the card. Alexander Rakic versus Magomed. I flirted with the idea of picking Rakic here. The leg kicks could be a difference maker. He was raining them on Yuri, had Yuri compromised in the first round. And let's not forget, Jan Blachowicz had Magomed diving for his legs after 2 leg kicks in the first round. But that's something Magomed Ankalaev has no problem doing, is smudging the fight up, getting that control time, the most dominant way to win. Oh, holding your opponent down and doing nothing. The most dominant way to win. Control time. He can't get up off his back. He can't get up. Dominant. Come on, fucking put him in the Hall of Fame. What a dominant fucking fighter we have here. He can hug him for 3 rounds. That's what's going to happen here. Magomed's going to eat a couple leg kicks and decide, I don't want to strike with Rakic. I don't see Ankalaev putting out Rakic like Yuri put him out. Yuri's got the heart of a warrior. He bit down on that mouthpiece hard in that second round and got that knockout. Magomed's knocking out Johnny Walker. So are 17-year-old boys. So I don't see that as anything crazy. I think Magomed takes home a decision win here. It's going to be a boring fight. And the person who's going to be making this fight entertaining is going to be Rakic. Maybe at the end of this fight, we call it a robbery where the person who did the damage didn't win this fight. I could see that. I could see Rakic out-damaging Magomed here. I really could. I see Magomed smudging it up, guys. He's going to take 2 leg kicks and he's going to be diving for the fucking legs. Football tackling Rakic down. That's how this fight's going. Magomed via control time. They're going to weigh it super heavy out in Abu Dhabi. I'm confident about that. We're going Magomed by decision. That'll be the pick. This Cyril Gane fight's off the card. This card's fucking super inaccurate, so I'm not changing it up, though. What fight is this instead? Okay, so it looks like they might have moved the Ige Murphy fight to that position, so I'm moving right on to the co-main event here. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Guys, I'm sorry that this graphic's so inaccurate. I am. I should have looked over all these fights and realized how many are out, but we ball. I'm still giving you the picks. So, co-main event, Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Robert Whittaker, super impressive round 1 knockout win over Ikram Aliskerov. Uppercut, rocked the fuck out of him, knocked out that guy. Let's not forget. People forget, guys. Robert Whittaker, a lot of people were picking against him that fight. I got him at super great odds by knockout, so paid off huge there, but this is where the story ends, guys. This is where the story ends for Robert Whittaker. Dricus du Plessis ragdolled him on the ground, and that was last July. Khamzat Chimaev, he's obviously not sick, guys. Just want to say that. Khamzat's obviously not sick here. If he was, he would have pulled out by now. This is all in his favor. Robert Whittaker's reward for beating Ikram Aliskerov on a week's notice in Saudi Arabia, his reward for that is getting rebooked against the guy that pulled out of that bout in Abu Dhabi. His reward for beating Ikram Aliskerov in Saudi Arabia is having to fly to Abu Dhabi to fight his original opponent again. How does that make sense? But Khamzat Chimaev, he's the poster boy, you know, he's the golden boy. He'll get everything that he wants, regardless of how many times he pulls out or fucks up the event with a weight miss or whatever. He's going to get this done, guys. DDP ragdolled Robert on the ground. Nothing against Robert Whittaker. He's a great fighter. Love to. Terrible fucking Aspinall accent. But Chimaev's get this done, you know. He's going to ragdoll in the first round. He had a 10-8 against Kamaru Usman the first round. His grappling's no joke, guys. And, like, the DDP ragdolled him the first and second round of their fight. Let's not act like that didn't happen. That was a year ago. You're not just going to turn your career around and change your entire grappling game and take down defense in a year, especially when you're fighting Khamzat Chimaev, possibly the best grappler, one of the best grapplers in the UFC, if not the best grappler at middleweight, at least. So I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev, and I see him find a submission over Robert Whittaker here. Whether he gets the backpack or he breaks him down to the mat and gets like a Darce choke or something, Chimaev's getting this done, guys. He's relentless that first round. He's going to be looking for a finish. He doesn't want to go 3 hard rounds with Robert Whittaker. He wants to get it done as quick as possible. And again, I'm going to reiterate this. This is fully in Khamzat Chimaev's terms in Abu Dhabi on his time, in his event, with his judges. If it goes to a close decision, he's got the crowd, which, I mean, it didn't affect Robert too much last time. A lot of the Saudi Arabia fans were actually fans of Robert Whittaker. But that was against Ikram Aliskerov, an unknown guy over there. He, maybe not unknown, but like low-ranked, like not ranked fighter. They're obviously going to be picking Robert Whittaker over that. They're going to be supporting him more. But Chimaev, they will be cheering him over Robert Whittaker. I can say that for certain. And I think he's going to just get fucking ragdolled and put out in 1 round, sub or TKO on the ground. Whatever it be. I'm going to go with a round 1 submission win for Khamzat Chimaev, though. That'll be the official pick. I don't see the fairy tale. I don't see the fairy tale. And speaking of fairy tales, 65% of people picking Holloway on a UFC poll on YouTube. I saw it earlier. On the UFC community page on YouTube, they have a poll. And last time I checked, Holloway was getting picked 65% of the time over Ilia Topuria. This has Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor written all over it, guys. If you really think about it, everyone was picking Jose Aldo in that fight as well. All of the MMA analysts, all of them, they were picking Jose Aldo. Oh, he hasn't lost in this long. Conor McGregor's just a loudmouth. No way. Jose Aldo, he's too dominant. Not going to happen. The same things are getting said about this one, guys. Exact same thing, you know. Oh, Ilia's just a loudmouth. Holloway, oh, he's too dominant, you know. His boxing's too good. Oh, he's never been knocked out before. It's not going to happen. Guys, there's a first for everything. And I get it. Volk was compromised in their fight. He was. I want to make that a point. He was compromised. 3 months before he fought Topuria, he had been knocked out by Islam Makhachev. But I think that right hand would have knocked out Volkanovski regardless of when they fought. I think if you give Volk another 3 months to prepare for that Topuria fight, if that right hand lands, he's going out the same way. That had heat behind it. And that night, Ilia Topuria was not going to lose to anyone. He had that fucking aura of invincibility around him. And I see it tonight too. He's on his early Conor McGregor arc. He hasn't got that fucking Khabib yet. You know, Umar's in 135, so he doesn't even have to worry about it. I see Topuria knocking out Holloway, guys. I see him putting him on a heap on the canvas. Gaethje knocked down Holloway. Regardless of what it was called, it was a knockdown. He landed on his ass. And guys, The same people that are saying Holloway didn't get knocked down, they also are saying Ferreira got knocked down. The difference between the two of them are Holloway's ass actually hit the canvas. Ferreira, none of his body hit the canvas. His feet were on the canvas the whole time. He just kind of buckled his knees a bit and recovered. So if you're calling that Ferreira one a knockdown, you got to call the Holloway one a knockdown. That's a fact. And guys, Holloway has a kryptonite. Volkanovski, shorter fighter. Dustin Poirier, shorter fighter. He's got a kryptonite, obviously. Solid boxing, shorter fighter. Topuria is really good boxing, fundamentals. He's good at getting on the inside. He's good at exploiting the weaknesses. And Holloway does get hit. Cater was landing good strikes in that fight against Holloway. Even though Holloway was beating his ass and looking away from him at times and dodging the punches still, he still was getting cracked every 30 seconds when he got too cocky. He'd get cracked with the right hand, and he'd have to bring his hands back up and focus on Calvin for a bit. That happened in the fight quite a couple times. Even though Holloway dominantly beat him, he was getting hit a couple times. And you can't take those shots from Topuria. You just can't. You just can't. And these guys talked about in the first 10 seconds, they're going to be pointing at the ground and marching at each other and swinging it out like the last 10 seconds of that Gaethje fight. So if they do that, guys, if they go in the middle of the ring in the first 10 seconds of this fight and decide to swing it out, Topuria is leaving him on a heap in the canvas, knocking him out in the first round. So I'm going to pick Topuria by a round 1 knockout because I think that's a possibility. These guys are going to point out the mat really quick in the first round. They're going to decide to slug it out, and Topuria is going to be the better man. That's going to be my pick. Whether you guys like it or not, Topuria is winning this one. And you know me, I love going hard on these picks, whether or not it ages well. I picked Tyra. I was confident in Tyra. I picked Michelle Pereira. I was confident in Michelle Pereira. But guys, there's a pay-per-view. We hit these. Like no other. Topuria leaves Holloway in a heap in the first round. El Matador, and still, let me know what you guys thought of my picks. This is a longer breakdown video, so let me know if you like the longer ones as opposed to the shorter ones. But make sure to like this video, comment, and subscribe. We'll get you that full card graphic as soon as I can this week. Maybe another full video on Topuria Holloway, breaking it down even more in depth. Maybe one on the co-main event too. We'll see how that goes. I'll try to get those done tomorrow or Wednesday or something, but let me know what you guys thought of my picks. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching the video. See you guys soon.